on YouTube with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad to have you here. We are going to make a card tonight, and we are going to combine seasonal celebrations with the gears and textures. And the plan is to make a graduation card. Graduation season isn't that far away. So we're going to make a card. I have a grandson who will be graduating from WyoTech in Wyoming this summer. I'm already started on his graduation card, and he has a buddy there that's graduating as well from this area here in Oregon. All right, so before you see the Notes of Spring stamp set. This is the March online exclusive. Hello, Tracy. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't seen this already, it is one of what we call a distinctive stamp set, in that these pieces here help to make your images look photorealistic. 15-piece photopolymer stamp set, and this can be added to your order when it reaches $75. You can add this for $5, and that is before tax and shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards or coupons that you might use. Okay? Hello, Laura. So I haven't had a chance to play with this. This just arrived to my house on Tuesday, and I was lazy today, and I didn't do anything. So no playing with that stamp set yet. All right. So we are, like I said, we're going to use seasonal celebrations. We're going to use the graduation cap from this set, and then we're going to combine that with gears and textures, and we're going to be using the whole bundle, stamps and dies, to put our card together. So let's go ahead and get started. I don't think I did all my die cutting, but that's okay. We're good. Most of it can be done on the mini. So we've got a card base in Real Red. WyoTech's colors are red, black, and white, which is the same as what my grandson had for his high school graduation. So then I've got a piece of the Lunar Luster 12 by 12 paper. We're going to do some die cutting from that. Actually, I have a couple of scraps of that. This is for the inside of our card. This is basic white, 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And then I've taken and cut 2 of the party banner dies. This is the 4th smallest in basic white, and this is the 5th smallest in basic black. And I have cut one of the die cuts that we need right out of that. No point in wasting it. So we're going to stack it on top, and you'll never know I did that, except for you people who are watching the YouTube. You'll know I did it, but my grandson won't. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's get our die cutting out of the way, because I'm pretty sure I'm not stamping and die cutting. And let me see what I've already die cut, because I have a couple things here that I did die cut ahead of time. So this is the piece that we cut out of the black, and I needed 2 of them, so I went back and cut a second one. And this is also for the inside of our card. And then I've put some of the Lunar Luster paper and added some adhesive sheet to the back. And I've die cut some of the little bolt images from it's this little die right there from the Gears and Textures dies. Okay, and I've got those here. I don't want to lose them, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to need to take our lunar luster paper here and die cut some pieces. So let's go ahead and grab our plates for the mini machine here. We're just going to put that lunar luster on. And we're going to take our dies and we're going to cut one of those and one of those. And I need one of these and one of these. So we're just going to run those all through all at the same time. So we'll just put this on here, adjust my plates so that I won't have trouble getting them through my mini machine here. And we'll just slide this in here and run those through. And that's going to give us the pieces that we need pretty much. Okay. So you're going to get a lot of these little pieces that are extra that of course you can save for something out of that gear. Sometimes if I drop that on my glass mat, it just pops right out. So we've got that piece that we're going to need. And then we've got this piece that we're going to need. And we'll just pop those out. And then we've got this. We're not going to use this piece. You can keep this little center piece that cuts out. This is about a 7/8 inch circle. Whoa, can't drop that. And then we're going to need this piece. So let's pop that right on out of there. And then let's get stamping. Put these little pieces all back on my magnet sheet so they don't get lost. And we'll slide that back into the envelope. And now they'll be safe. Okay, and I'll keep this piece because I can still cut some things out of there. And I'll set these aside. All right, and then let's go ahead and just drop these in here for now so they don't come up missing. And we're going to start by stamping on our card base. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper and we're going to take this piece from our Gears and Textures. And we're going to get some Memento black ink. I'm just going to stamp that in a couple of places here. And then we're going to take the splatter stamp. And I'm going to take some, I'm going to use Pebbled Path. You could use Basic Gray. Pebbled Path is a retired color, but I prefer the Pebbled Path over the Basic Gray. And I'm just going to randomly stamp some splotches here. I wanted this to kind of, my grandson's in an automotive program, and so I want this to kind of look like oil spills and those kinds of things. All right, so we're going to let that dry for just a minute. And we're going to bring in our uh, fifth smallest banner. I'm pretty sure. Let's double check that. I wouldn't want to give you bogus information here. These are the two we're using. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 is the white piece. And the 6th is the black piece. And if you don't already have these party banner dies, what are you waiting for? Get them. You need them. Okay. I've got the graduation cap here, so we're going to go ahead and stamp this in Memento Tuxedo Black ink. Let's get this out of the way. And I'm going to ink that up really well. And I'm going to stamp it down about here. I want to leave some room at the top for my sentiment. Okay. So we've got that. Then we're going to take some real red ink on a scrap of basic white. And we're going to stamp the tassel. And you could try to stamp that right on the graduation hat, but I was going for a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to do that. And then while I've got the red ink out, I'm going to stamp the sentiment, which comes from Scalloped Wishes. And for some reason, I don't have that stamp out. So it's Scalloped Wishes has Happy Graduation. So we're just going to grab that stamp and we'll put it on a block. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get my, we're going to get our stamp positioner tool here. And I'm going to lay this down. Straighten this up as best I can. And then I'm going to set this down on here. Make sure I've got this straight. Okay, that looks pretty straight. We're going to ink that up. And then I'm going to set this down, line it up on a grid line, make sure my banner is straight and about where I want it, and then I'll give that a press. And then my happy graduation should be level and centered. Gotta love that little stamp positioning arm. Okay, so we've got that. Now for this, we're going to take some dark real red. I'm going to take the Stampin' Blends dark real red, and I wanted to put a little bit of definition in here. So I'm just going to flick up some lines just to give that a little bit extra. And then, yes, I have to fussy cut it, but it's okay. We're just going to fussy cut that really quick. I'm going to move my paper, not my scissors. Leave just a little bit of a white outline there. You can get as detailed with your cutting or as generic as you like. And then we're just going to trim this up. Give that a little bit of a snip there. And now I've got my graduation tassel. So I'm going to take my, hello Cynthia, hello Laura, in case I forgot to say hello. I know I said hello to Tracy. So let's take it, I'm just going to take and roll up a mini glue dot in a ball, and I'm just going to set it right here. Okay, I'm going to take another mini glue dot, and I'm going to fold that, roll that over, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my tassel. And I'm going to stick this on how I want it. And I don't want this to lay completely flat, so I'm putting the tassel part on first with that glue dot, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to scoot it up just a little bit so that I've got a little bit of a bend in that tassel to give it a little bit of added dimension. Okay, and then what tassel is not complete without just a little bit of glitter? So put a little bit of Wink of Stella on that. This piece is now ready to add to this one. So we're just going to take and grab a little bit of Stampin' Seal. I'm going to start that on my, I'm getting down toward the end. You can see the red. Okay, then I'm just going to add this on here. This piece is now ready for our card base, but we still need to do some things to our card base. So I wanted to add a little bit of extra splatter to this. So I'm going to take, we're going to do a little bit of embossing. So we're going to use the splatter stamp. Again, this is from Gears and Textures. I'm going to get my embossing buddy because I've got ink here and I don't want any stray. Well, it'd be fine to have a little bit of stray silver here and there just for added texture, but I don't want the silver to stick where I've already got ink. So we're going to use that embossing buddy. Take our Versamark. I'm going to put a little bit here. Put a little bit over here. And then let's add a little bit down here. Trying not to touch that because the oils of my skin might cause the embossing powder to stick. So I'm going to take our silver embossing powder now. I'm going to bring in my Embossing Additions Toolkit tray, and we're going to dump a little bit of silver powder there. And I'll put a little bit here. I don't need to cover the whole front. I really just need to cover where I've stamped. And then that'll keep the stray powder away as well. Okay, so we've got that now. Go ahead and give that a good flick. I'm going to put that cap on there just so I don't knock that over. Set it completely out of the way. heating up my heat tool. The Stampin' Up! Heat tool has two settings, one for drying and one for heat embossing. So I'm just going to heat emboss this really quick. Generally, I like to go from underneath. Okay, that looks pretty good. Heat tool here. There we go. Okay, got a little tiny spot right there that didn't melt, but now we've got it. So we've got that now. And we can set that aside to cool for just a minute. Let's go ahead and assemble our gears here. So I'm going to take this large gear and then we're going to add this piece here. This is going to go right here. So what I'm going to do to attach this is I'm going to take just a little bit of Tombow liquid glue in my fine tip bottle. And from experience, you don't want to put it right at the edge. You want to put it, maybe 1/8 of an inch on each spoke here. From that, come on. Oh man, that was a big one. Okay, might have got those a little too close to the edge. We'll fix it if we need to. I'm just going to lay this down on those spokes. And again, this is the Lunar Luster paper, 12 by 12. This just came out at the beginning of March. So we'll give that a little bit of a press. Okay. Just take a block and give that a good press on the flat side. And then we're going to take this piece that we cut. I'm just going to put a little bit here and there on that one. And we'll line those spokes up. And again, give that a little press. Now you could put a little bolt in the center of that, but we're not going to see that, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so now we're going to take this one, and beforehand I stamped this little, well, I'll just show you because it's super simple to do, because I cheated a little bit. I took some smoky slate and this stamp, and we're just going to give that a little dab on our smoky slate. Put that on some basic white, and then I'm using a 1/4 inch circle punch. This is an old retired one, and I'm just going to punch that centerpiece out there with my hole punch. Now there is a die that you can use to do that. I find a hole punch a whole lot easier, so since I have one on hand, that's what I'm using. And then I'm just going to take this, I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue right there in the center. Take your pick tool and pop that down here. Give that a good press with the tip of my take your pick tool. And this one is now ready. Okay. We are almost ready to put this whole thing together. So beforehand, like I said, I took that Lunar Luster paper And I die cut out 3 of these little nuts and bolt things, and they have adhesive paper on the back. I highly recommend the adhesive paper for these, because trying to get liquid glue on there, not a fun thing. Okay, so I've got those 3 there. And of course, when you do this, you get these little things that pop out of the center. You can do with those as you wish. I'm not using them, but we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to set these over here. And we're going to bring in our card. Let me get those there. Let's get this out of the way. It has a little bit of glue on it. I'm going to go ahead and give that a good press with my bone folder. And we're going to put this piece up here. And yes, I'm covering up some of that silver that I embossed, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to take and put a little bit of liquid glue on this. I want the outside edges to remain free. And we're going to stick this up here, kind of like that. Okay, stay within, want to make sure that I'm within my card boundary there. I'm going to make sure this is going to go on top here. That's going to look, yep, about how I want it. Yep. And then we're going to take this one. And actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and put this into place. So we're going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals, add these. To our focal image. And I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm going to curl up the edges of my white banner, and then just a little bit on my black there. Not too crazy, but that'll add just a little bit of dimension. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this down where we want it. I'll put this down just a little bit low so we see more of that gear up top. Okay, so we've got that. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to slide that in here. But I want this to stick up just a tiny bit, but not as far as the Stampin' Dimensional. So I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool and I'm going to grab a mini glue dot with the tip of my pokey tool. I'm going to stack that. I'm going to use my paper as a helper there. And I'm going to stack it again so that I have a 3 stack of glue dots. And then I'm going to add that 3 stack to the center of my gear. That's going to give my gear just a little bit of lift, not as much as a Stampin' Dimensional, but enough. And I'm going to put that right there. Give that a good press. And I don't know if you can see, but that gives it just a little bit of a lift. Not quite as much as the Stampin' Dimensional. We're going to add these pieces. So I'm going to take the Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to get my silicone mat so that I can lay this down. It won't move. And then I'll just take your pick tool and get underneath that edge. Pop that up. I'm going to put this down here, like so. And then we'll grab these two. And do the same thing. Oh, I hope that didn't set itself back down there. It did, but we're okay. Come on. You know, I did these the other day when I made this card. I never had any issues getting the backing paper. Oh, this one doesn't have backing paper on it. Can't get the backing paper off if there isn't any. Hang on, I've got one in the container that does. Come on, separate. There we go. Such a tiny little piece. So we'll put that there and that there. Let's find a gear or a bolt that has the backing. And you'll know it has the backing because, as you can tell, this one's silver on both sides, so there's no adhesive backing there. This one has the white, so you know there's backing. Or there's adhesive sheet there. Okay, so we'll just pick that up, put that right down there, and there is the front of our card. We're using seasonal celebrations and the gears and textures to make a more masculine graduation card. Now, for the inside, we're going to use these two pieces. I've cut two of those. I need to stamp the congratulations. I'm going to do that first. So again, I'm going to use my tool here. So I'm going to clean this happy graduation off and set that on a block so I don't lose it. I'm going to take the congratulations. Okay, and this congratulations came from Wonderful Thoughts. It's a oldie but a goodie, still available. It does have matching dies to that cut out all of these sentiments. It's a really good one to have because these do cut out. Let's see if I have some in here that are already cut. I'm not cutting it out, so I do want to show you how that works. With the dies, you stamp the image and then use the die, and you get these perfectly die cut sentiment pieces. So the stamp set is called Wonderful Thoughts, and so are the dies. Well worth having before they retire that, for sure. I think this is the second annual catalog that set has been in, so if you don't already have it, you might want to consider getting that now. So I'm just going to take and line that up on a line here. Straighten that like so. Pick that up. And again, I'm going to use the, well, this time I'm going to use, no, I'm not. I'm using Real Red. Whew. I'm going to get it together here, right? So Real Red, get that congratulations all inked up. I'll line this up I'm going to line my paper up on my grid so I know the paper's straight. And this stamp won't touch the paper until I push it down. So I can line this up, make sure it's centered, look straight, and give it a push. And now I've got a straight sentiment. Okay, then we're going to add these. And one thing I noticed about these is that if you're very careful, you can overlap these to make them look like they come together. Okay, so if you're going to glue them together like I am, do that like that, overlap it, and then we're going to put just a dot of glue here and here and right here. And then I'm going to set these two together like so. Line those up. Try to make sure they're straight. Okay. And then when they're together, now I've got one piece. Now I can just take and add some dots of glue here and there. Now, I know normally I don't show you guys when I do the insides of the cards, but I wanted you to see how this piece comes together. So we're just going to set this down here, like so, at the bottom of our card. It's going to hang off just a tiny bit. This piece of basic white is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, which is just about the perfect size for this. And then I'm just going to give that a little trim. And we've got that. Now, that looks really nice just as it is. But I wanted to personalize mine a little bit more. So what I did was I took the mini alphabet die, this one right here. Okay, so we've got the mini alphabet die. Again, if you don't have this, this is a great one to have. I cut this out in white. Now, you don't have to cut the whole thing out if you don't want to. You could put little pieces of paper. I just cut the whole thing for this one. And then I had almost enough letters to do 2 complete YO text. So what I've done, I wanted to show you how I did this. So I took my letters and I lined them up on my grid how I wanted them. Okay, so I laid them down here on the grid, on a piece of grid paper itself. Okay, and then I took a piece of the mint tape and I laid it down the bottom to hold that in place. And then I took my dark Real Red marker, the brush tip, and I colored that in with the red. Okay, and then I took another piece and did that. Lifted this one up. Took the light basic black marker with the brush tip, and I colored that. Okay, and then I'm going to put this back here like this. Actually, I'm going to leave it just like that because it'll work better. Yeah. So now I can take, I've already got these all secured. I can just take and lift that as one. Then I can bring this down on my paper here. Oh, yeah. It's a good idea before you do that if you put some glue on the letters. Always a good idea to put the glue on first. but because they're attached to that mint tape or post-it tape or scotch tape, whatever you want to, removable scotch tape, washi tape, now all I have to do is lay this down how I want it. Take a block, lift that, oop, my W came off. I was a little too aggressive. So just lay that back down there, just like that. I need to move that over just a tiny bit. Moved on me. Don't be aggressive like me. Okay, got that on. Now I can just give that a press. And there is the inside of my card, but my C kind of moved, and so did my E. So I'm just going to press those back where I want them. All right. I got a little aggressive there. Things are moving. But luckily, with liquid glue, I can take and just slide them where I want them to go. And when I'm really happy with that, then I'll just take my bone folder. And there we have the inside of the card. And that is ready to add. Oops, I think I'm out. Okay, well, let's go ahead. We'll just use some liquid glue here. I need to replace that. We'll add this to the inside of our card. And now our card is finished. Okay, so one more thing. We have the envelope. So I took the envelope, and there is a chevron stamp in the Gears and Textures right here. And with my stamp positioning tool, I put that envelope up here on my stamp positioner tool like so. I don't have this on here, so I'm not going to press it down, but I'll show you kind of how it works. Okay, so I got my stamp lined up there, and let's take this off. I don't want to mess this up. Okay, so you'll get your stamp on there. Okay, just put your stamp on there how you want it. Line that up. Put your tool on here. I must have been one more down. Hang on. Oh, nope, I'm supposed to be right there. That's how I lined it up, was with that second line and up against those pegs. Okay, and then put that on there. Press down, pick that up. Then I inked it in black, stamped it down, cleaned it. Well, necessarily you wouldn't have to, because you could just stamp it in black, move it down to, stamp it in black, move it down to, stamp it in black, clean it. Don't move your paper. Then ink it in red, press it down, move it down to, press it down, move it down to, and press it down. And then you have this really cool chevron across the bottom of your envelope. Okay, so this is the finished card using Seasonal Celebrations along with Gears and Textures. I hope you like that project, and I hope it gives you some ideas for graduation cards and the use of that seasonal celebrations. You guys, this is such a good stamp set because it covers so many things. And I'll show you a picture later. I made some things using this one. You saw the videos from Tuesday, or if you didn't, go back and check my YouTube channel. It's posted there, where I used the bunny and the um, shamrock. And then I've taken and used this piece and this piece on some other things. I've used this, and I'll be posting these pictures shortly. But I want the recipients to get them first before you see them. And then I'll put them on my Facebook page. Okay? All right, everybody. I hope you have a great week. I will be back on um, Tuesday night on Facebook at 7 p.m. And then next Thursday night at 7 p.m., I'll be live right here on YouTube. Until then, if you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and then the notification bell so you'll know every time I go live. And if you need to purchase any of these items that I've used today, you can find the link for my Stampin' Up! Online store in the description below once the video posts um, to the public. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for all your great comments. I appreciate that so much.